Hi there, good evening everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So the frog is here, Shadow's here, I'm here, we're ready to go. It's Tuesday night, we're doing a mini series. This is a mini series, it's going to be 6 episodes in total. We've done one already. This will be the second episode. So this will be the 5th band in line of my 6, I guess you might call this like my 6 favorite bands that had a near perfect start. But it wouldn't be my favorite bands. It's more like I think these are the 6 best starts in my own personal history right now. There are a lot of bands in this that could have been on this list, but in most cases, there was one album in there I didn't like quite enough to do it, or there was one in there, more likely there was an album in there I hadn't listened to yet. That's the case with about half of the bands that I wrote down initially. There was one album in there I just didn't feel like I had enough experience with it to really give it enough of a rating to make it a 3 perfect start. There was a few in there that were albums that, because I've listened to the bands for so long, one of the albums kind of dropped off a little bit, and so I didn't feel it was in that category. But this band that we're doing this week, originally I had as my number 6 pick, and then when I went back, I had not changed it. It was still written in as my number 6 pick, and the band that I did last week was my number 5. But in retrospect, when I thought about it, I remembered that I had switched it. That's why I had done Rush first. I think this band, the 2 Rush albums, Fly By Night, Caress of Steel, absolutely killer, masterpiece albums. The debut album of Rush, a little on the weak side, I thought. I do like it, but it's a little on the weak side. Could be a high 2, could be a low 1. All 3 of these albums from this band are all a 1s or better. So we've got a 1, a low 1, a high 1, and a masterpiece. So we're going tonight with Led Zeppelin. There's Led Zeppelin 1, Led Zeppelin 3, and Led Zeppelin 2. So Led Zeppelin, I thought about it, and all 3 albums are at least a 1, so they had to be one of the bands in the consideration here. And I think this is a perfect spot for them in the 5th spot. So the debut album, which is Led Zeppelin 1, of course. At one time, I liked it more. It's faded a bit, but not because the album is any better or any worse than it was back then. Just my musical tastes have changed a bit. Album's a little bit worn out. I've listened to it a lot I used to listen to it a lot. Haven't listened to it as much, and I think it's basically my taste in music is slowly changed more towards the prog and psychedelic folk stuff as opposed to this bluesy oriented music. So this has a lot of really good songs on it. I mean, Good Times, Bad Times, that's a rocker for sure. Probably the best, maybe the best commercial song on the album for sure. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. I used to like this a lot. So those 2 songs used to be the 2 I absolutely liked a lot. Sorry, it's trying to give me all these bubbles always come up, you know. You Shook Me, Dazed and Confused, Your Time Is Gonna Come. These are all kind of more bluesy oriented tracks, and that's probably why the album's faded a little bit. It has a little bit more of that heavy blues feel to it than I'm more accustomed to listening to these days. Of course, you got Black Mountain Side, another one like that. I Can't Quit You, Babe. How Many More Times? So yeah, very heavy bluesy sound to this album. And that's probably the reason why it's kind of faded a bit and you get more bubbles pop up here. I guess it doesn't want to go. So all we can do is just work on it. So yeah, so a little bit more of that bluesy feel to it than I really wanted to do. And then of course there's Communication Breakdown. This is another heavy commercial sounding track. So this is it's a good start, a good solid debut album. Some people absolutely think this is absolutely killer. I'm not going to argue with them. For me, it was great when I first started listening to it. I don't listen to it as much as I used to. So we'll go on to the second album. This was probably my favorite Led Zeppelin album. After I got over the In Through the Outdoor thing, this became my second. I'd listened to this a ton when I was growing up. A ton. I don't listen to it as much, but not because it's a bad album. The cover's a little bit old looking and the album looks a little bit worn, but it's not a bad album at all. Lots of good stuff on here too. I mean, some of their classic heavy songs, Whole Lot of Love, Heartbreaker, Living Loving Maid, and She's Just a Woman. Those are all real heavy tracks that I liked more in the old days, not so much now. The Lemon Song was always a song I thought was a little bit quirky, but I liked it. What Is and What Should Never Be. This one I liked more when I was into that bluesy phase. Heartbreaker was a song, it's kind of like that song from Rush called What You're Doing. Both those songs I just never was big on, and they sound a lot alike too, so it's not really surprising they feel that way about them. Then you've got Moby Dick, which is a drum thing. I never really cared much for this. The two songs, probably my favorite song on the album was Ramble On. For many years was probably my favorite Zeppelin song. Maybe not so much now. Bring It On Home, I think, might be the track, the deep cut track on here that I love so much. This is a solid rock album. Deserves all the attention that it has gotten over the years, and just really went from a good album to an absolute masterpiece here. And then we have Led Zeppelin 3, which is, for those of you who follow me, know that this is my one masterpiece Zeppelin. And maybe Led Zeppelin 2 could be in there too as well, but this is the one masterpiece. And this is probably my favorite Zeppelin album, which is kind of ironic since it was the one of the first four that I didn't really care much for. Kind of thought it was a bit too folky, a bit too pedestrian, not nearly hard enough. And back in those days, I wanted it hard. I liked my hard rock and heavy metal. And this one just, to me, just didn't measure up that way. But it's grown on me quite a bit. Primarily for the same things I didn't like it is the same reason why I do like it now. It starts out with the legendary Immigrant song. This is a well-known track. Many people watch this track, have liked this track, I mean. I think it's the one that they used to coin the phrase heavy metal. Friends is a decent song. Celebration Day, I like this a lot too. It's a bit more up-tempo, a little bit more of an acoustic sound, but great tune. Since I've Been Loving You, that could have easily been a track on the first album and would have fit right in. Out on the Tiles, great tune. Gallows Pole, probably one of my favorite Zeppelin songs, and in recent years has become even closer to the top. Tangerine, this one's I know it's a little bit of a quiet song, but I still like it quite a bit. That's the Way. I think the vocals on this are among the best on this album. The Boneyard Stomp, fantastic. And the only song on here that I've never been a huge fan of is Hats Off to Roy Harper. I mean, I don't dislike it. It's a decent track, but overall, I think it's just the acoustic kind of quiety, almost classical and country-ish sounding, and a little bit of folkiness to this album that I like. The reason I like it so much. So Led Zeppelin 3 here. So that's the band that we're doing for today for my near perfect start band number 5, Led Zeppelin, featuring Led Zeppelin 1, Led Zeppelin 2, and Led Zeppelin 3. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Near Perfect Starts, the mini-series we're running. We got 4 more episodes to go. I hope to see you all out for that. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. That's much appreciated. Don't forget the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. And if you got any comments about the 3 albums or about this choice, you can put that in the comment section below. But we will be back next week with another episode. It'll be episode 3 this time. Got another band that you're probably all going to like. So take care and goodbye and have a good one. Bye.